Townsville CBD has lived through many changes in culture and society. Hello, my name is Peter, and I've witnessed some drastic changes in the CBD which saw a mass exodus of retail business and patrons. Buildings and infrastructure here have required an element of adaptability to sustain themselves. Townsville contains a large number of buildings that are protected by heritage listing. Due to these factors, Townsville's identity has a strong link to its past, perpetuating its identity as a strong economic hub of North Queensland. An important part to sustaining buildings through time is their adaptability. Famous architect Raymond Abraham described buildings not by the programming of their floor plan, but more about the events taking place in these spaces. With different events, our architecture must be able to adapt to satisfy specific needs. All of these different needs add value to our identity. When things change in order to survive, we call this evolution. But as Hodgson pointed out in 2013, evolution requires further clarification or the term becomes too generalized. So to make buildings sustainable, they must be able to adapt. Being adaptable is to evolve, and Hodgson listed 3 factors which contribute to evolution: variation, selection, and replication. Townsville is a city that has seen some of the largest growth in Queensland. Just looking at some of the heritage listed buildings, one can observe a significant amount of decoration. The decoration occurs on buildings not just of financial or stately importance, but also hotels and other small businesses appear to have been able to afford this extra decoration. In 1979, Flinders Street Mall, located in Townsville CBD, was opened as a pedestrian mall. During this time, the mall was predominantly retail business. Here's a photo taken in 1979. We can see people wandering through the paved street. I positioned myself in the same place to film the street as it appears today. It just so happens that on this day the street was closed off to vehicles for the Cotters markets, but on any other day it's a busy thoroughfare for cars. Between then and now, why such a drastic change? Well, in 1987, Townsville was introduced to a new shopping experience. In a satellite suburb, Aikenvale, the Stockland Shopping Plaza was opened. The 59,000 square metre complex was completely enclosed and cooled with refrigerated air conditioning. The complex also brought with it Townsville's first Big W, along with other grocery stores and specialty stores. Flinders Street, after the new complex opened, saw declining traffic, and to retail business, traffic equals customers. The customers who once shopped in Flinders Street were now using the more comfortable air-conditioned option. And if we look at Townsville's climate, it's not difficult to see why. Townsville is a very hot environment, and the Flinders Street Mall was fully exposed to this. After a while, businesses started following traffic to the new complex, and eventually buildings were being vacated in the Flinders Street Mall. To this day, real estate signs advertising vacant spaces are dotted around. The CBD even had a 13-storey car park offering free car parking, and eventually this huge building was underutilised as well. The street was reopened to vehicles in 2011. The Ogden Street car park was converted into luxury condos and renamed Metro Keys in 2001. Council's part changing the zoning to residential zone allowed the building to evolve using adaptation. The selection of residential zones over any other zone also provided the precinct with more traffic. This extra traffic was a welcome boost to local cafes, bars and restaurants in the area. The car park building was easily adapted into a residential building due to the large standardised spaces provided by each level. This building was the first of its kind in the area, and since its conversion, more residential zones and buildings have popped up in the area. The Flinders Street precinct has not reverted to former glory days as a thriving retail hub, but the area is converting to a more corporate and service providing precinct. Along with residential zones, the office workers provide traffic for local businesses. With Townsville's many heritage protected buildings, Council has made many decisions to boost the CBD and reutilise the vacant buildings. By identifying changing events and new needs, the decisions made by Council assisted in adapting the precinct into a new community whilst recycling existing buildings. By using variation, selection and replication, the Heritage Protected Precinct has evolved, proving the ability for buildings to be sustained through time.
Cherokee